Hi everybody, welcome to Jenna Stitches. My name is Jenna, obviously, I would hope so, or why would I have my channel named that, but you never know. So welcome to my channel. If you are new here, thank you so much for stopping by and checking it out, and if you like it, please think about liking, commenting, subscribing, sharing, doing all that fun stuff. I would really appreciate it. And if you are returning, thank you so much for coming back, because I really appreciate that as well. I was just looking at all the comments on my last video, and there's quite a few like paragraphs that I got to reply to, and I was like, oh, it's so exciting that I get to actually, conversate with everybody. I don't know if that's a word, but we're going to say it is. What the heck is that? There's a piece of plastic in my drink. I'm not really quite sure where it came from. It's just water. Oh. So I buy those like 2.5 gallons of Poland Springs that have the little spout on it. So I guess it could be from that. Because you gotta like cut that little thing that holds the spout to the container. So maybe it was just cut wrong. I don't know. That's strange. But sorry, that distracted me. So you can probably see by the very beginning of the video and the thumbnail that I finished my Heart Throb blanket that I am making for the Things We're Working on Thursday collab that I'm doing with several other channels. It's myself, Heather from Strings and Threads, Darla from It's in the Bag Crochet with Darla, Jess from J Hook Magic, Tiffany from CMM Designs, Erin from Crafting Kitty, and Brandy from Bee's Crafty Corner. Brandy did not do January's, but she did say that she is going to join us and continue on with February's, which if you stick around after I talk about the blanket, we will show what we'll be working on for February. So yeah, as you've seen in the picture, it's finished. I chose not to put a border on mine. I honestly like the look of the corner to corners, how they end up without a border. I don't really feel it's necessary to add it. So I decided not to put mine on there, and you can probably tell from the picture too, there's a little few mistakes in the L, but it's not too bad. And honestly, I think Erin said it last week too, like she's not going back to fix it. I feel the same way about a lot of this blanket, but is it upside down? It surely is. Watch me turn it and it wasn't actually upside down. There we go. So there is my blanket as much as I, can get it in frame, but you can see the words. Hopefully you could hear me through it. But I think I can speak for all of us, I think, who made this blanket. Maybe not Darla, but I know for Heather, Jess. Well, Jess hasn't really had any issues, but Tiffany, Erin, myself, we all have at some point messed up on this blanket. It definitely tested our patience. But I loved every second of it. There was some very frustrating moments, and I might have even said last week, like, I've never been this frustrated before with a crochet pattern. But I really enjoyed it, and I love corner to corners. I love the look of them. I love how they turn out. And this was my first time making a corner to corner graph can. So everything that I messed up on, I know for the future now how to change that. I've only ever made 2 graph cans in my whole time crocheting, this being one of those 2. And I think a couple months back I made one, but that one that I made was all single crochet, and I know for a fact I messed up on that one like crazy, but you don't notice the mistakes as much as in the single crochets as you do with the corner to corners. But I like the look of the corner to corners more. So now that I know, like, it's definitely something I have to have a lot of focus on, it's definitely something you got to pay a lot of attention to, but I made it through this blanket, so I can definitely go forward with making more graph cans in the corner to corner style, because I actually do prefer this to the single crochet one that I made. And that single crochet one I made, I kind of just went with it, even though I knew all the time I was messing up. And if you look at it, and I don't think I ever showed it in the video where I showed it finished or even mentioned it, but it starts off like this and gradually gets smaller and smaller. And it's not even really the size of a good baby blanket by the time I was done with it. So I still have it because I do really love it and I love the design on it, but I am not using it as a blanket and never would. And I did try to start a second Grafgan in the corner, or no, sorry, in the single crochet style after I finished that one. And I frogged that thing like 3 times and I actually put it away and stopped working on it. And I might have mentioned it in a previous video because I know I've showed it, the start of it at least in a video before. But I don't know if I ever mentioned that I kind of just, you know, frogged it and set that yarn aside. And when I feel like coming back to it, I will. But I think now that I've done this, I definitely am going to go back to it eventually. I don't know when, because I have so many ideas going on right now that that's like the last one of them. But I do think when I go to make it, I'm going to make it in a corner to corner rather than doing the single crochet. Now that I've done this and I know like how to do it and how to follow the graph and everything, I think I'm going to change up doing any Grafgan in corner to corner rather than doing single crochet. So like there's a lot of good that came out of this blanket, even though, like I said, it was frustrating from beginning to end with the issues I was having with my yarn. You know, it took 13 days to get to me. Then all the mistakes I made, and yes, I can probably say most of the mistakes in the beginning were that I was rushing to try to catch up to everybody because I was about a week behind. But also just the fact that, you know, you really have to pay attention to the pattern because, like I said, the mistakes are very noticeable if you make them. Then running out of yarn and having to wait to work on it to go get more yarn. Still a little bit confused about that one, which I'll get to in a second. But I really, really did enjoy it. I haven't weaved in any of my ends on the back yet, though. So if you see them, they're not weaved in at all. And one thing that I do want to mention, even though we are all completed with the blanket now, well, I would think so. I know a couple people had mentioned stuff about how many times you have to cut your yarn and weave in the ends. So what you do when you work on this is you work diagonally. If you've never worked on a corner to corner before, you might not know that, but you work diagonally this way and then you come back this way. So if you're working on big chunks like this, carry the yarn on the back. So there's no ends here because I just used the same skein yarn through it all. So I would come up this way, I would come back down, I would slip stitch into the next color and leave the yarn for this one just kind of hanging till I came back around and kneaded it again. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's how I do it. So the only yarn hanging on the back of this is either because I was getting so tangled, because I will be honest, I didn't bobbin anything up. I was just kind of letting the skeins roll around. So sometimes I had to cut my yarn because it was terribly tangled. Well, that's pretty much it. I had to cut the yarn because it was terribly tangled, or I just didn't have enough, so I was cutting it and adding on more. So I don't really have many ends on the back of mine that I have to weave in because of the way I do it. And I don't know if that really makes sense, but you know, that's how I do it. I would crochet up, come back down, and when I was ready to switch to the next color, I would just slip stitch into that next color and then switch to that next color by just leaving the other yarn hanging there. I wouldn't actually like tie it off or cut it or anything. And that's why they suggest bobbins too with quarter corners, is because you can leave that yarn hanging there so it's still there when you need it for the next round. I feel like there was something else I was going to mention too, but I don't remember now. Nope. Well, I kind of know, but also I did mine different than I think everybody, and I did mention it in the first video, but I haven't mentioned it since. I went down a hook size and switched to double crochet instead of half double. The pattern does call for half double crochets. Like I just said, did double crochet instead, and the pattern does state to single crochet into each square as you're going down the line and to single crochet along the edge when you're decreasing, and I slip stitched everything. I thought it looked much better doing slip stitches, and it makes it tighter. So there are no, you know, you can kind of see the holes a little bit, but it's not actually holey. It's a very solid blanket because I chose to do double crochets and slip stitches rather than single crochets, so it makes everything a little bit tighter together. So just a few tips if you ever, you know, you want to work on this blanket, even though we're all done with it and moving on to the next pattern. Just some tips if you do want to work on it, or if you ever work on a corner to corner, like definite, or patterns in general, like do what you want. I didn't choose the colors the pattern said. I stayed pretty close, except mine are all pinks. But the color layout's pretty similar. Like this pink is almost identical to the red heart pink in the pattern. This pink is pretty close. This is red in the pattern. I went with this like hot pink, and then this is white, and I went with soft pink. Also, I changed my hook size. I did double crochets instead of half doubles. I did slip stitches instead of single crochets. So you definitely can yeah, because that makes sense. You can definitely switch up the pattern and make it your own. And that goes for any pattern. If you don't like the way it looks, the way it tells you to, do it the way you want it. So I definitely enjoyed all parts of this, like I just said. Yes, frustrating from beginning till end. Not really so much to end, because everything I worked on yesterday to finish it up went fine. And I was so excited when I got down to this last corner and could cut every color but this pink and just go with it. Went so much faster. But one thing I want to mention, and I don't know if anybody else has had this problem. I haven't heard any of them mention it, but I had to go get more of the color for the letters. I checked the pattern again, and it does call for 1 skein of white because, again, I used pink instead of white. And I love this yarn from Hobby Lobby instead of Red Heart. And I know the yardage is different, but it's not that different. And I didn't have any other problems with like the other color. This one here, I still have quite a bit left actually. I'm going to make a hat out of it. But I used almost the whole second skein of this light pink to finish up my lettering. So that didn't really make much sense to me if it only called for 1 and I used almost 2 skeins, regardless of, you know, changing the hook size and changing the stitch and having yarn with a little bit less yardage. I don't know why I used so much of that color. And it called for 3 of this colorway, and I barely even touched the second one. And actually, I don't think you can see it, but the third one is sitting right there in that bag. Like, I didn't even need to use it, and I barely had to use the second one. So just a little weird on that. I mean, that's one thing, if you haven't noticed, that I kind of keep track of a lot, is like, if you're gonna say how much of the yarn you need, then it should be kind of accurate, because now I have a whole skein of this pink plus almost a whole nother skein that I got to figure out something to do with. I mean, I'm definitely probably just gonna make cats out of all of it. Or there, I mean, I like pink. I'm not opposed to pink at all, hopefully, because my hair is pink, so that would be bad if I didn't like pink. It's not one of my favorite colors, but I'll definitely make something out of it. I just felt it was a little weird. Why does it call for 3 if I only used 1 1/4? And why does it only call for 1 if I used almost 2? The other 2 colors were fine, though. So that's everything I have on my love blanket, my Heart Throb blanket. Oh, guys, I'm a mess. Because if I keep talking, I'm going to say random stuff that has nothing to do with it. So we're just going to move on to February's pick. And this one I'm actually really excited about too, because it's something I personally would not pick on my own. Not because I don't like it. I think it's freaking adorable. It's not something I've ever thought to crochet myself. So I'm really excited to do it. Actually, I have a question that maybe somebody can help me with. I don't know if anybody will be able to, but hopefully. So is everybody ready? So this is what we are doing for February. It's called It's a Hoot Owl Container. I've never made a basket before, and I'm really excited to do it, and I think it's just absolutely adorable. So I'll have the pattern link down below. Again, everything that we're making throughout the year is free. This one, again, is coming from Yarn Inspirations. I know my eyes are going to be white, and my, well, the inner eye and the nose are going to be brown. I think it's just a standard shade of brown though, not like this lighter shade, more like a chocolatey brown. I don't know what I'm doing for the basket yet though, because I don't want to have to go buy yarn, and I know I don't have anything that color. And I don't know if I have anything that I have enough yardage for, because it does call for 2 skeins of this, and you hold it double, I think, from what I was reading. Yep, with 2 strands of A held together. So you make the basket with 2 strands of a yarn. So I do have 2 skeins of I love this yarn that I was thinking, but I got to check the yardage on it because it's one of the speckled ones, and I think their yardage is a lot less than their regular. I love this yarn, and I know their regular I love this yarn is less than Red Heart, which is what this calls for. So I'm going to go looking in my stash and seeing what color I can make the basket itself, if I have any yarn that I have enough yardage to do that with. But I think it's adorable, and I can't wait to make it. Actually, I could probably do a variegated yarn too. Like you can't see past Sally. She's like right in the middle of everything. But I got some like Red Heart roll with it tweeds back there. You can kind of see one right there. Probably not because I don't have my ring light on or anything. But that would look kind of cool. Again, I'll have to check the yardage. But I'm definitely thinking about it. I still got till next Thursday to think about it and get it together and get it started. So, but it's so cute. And I'm excited for it. So again, if you guys want to... you guys or anybody want to join in with us, go ahead. If you have a channel, just let us know. We'll add you into our descriptions. I'll mention you like I did earlier with everybody else. If you don't have a channel, feel free to email any of us. I always have my email in the description box down below. I think pretty much everybody does. I know there was somebody that I think was emailing pictures of this blanket to Jess at J Hook Magic, so definitely feel free to join in. This one's going to be a much smaller project. I think we all did a great job finishing up this one. As far as I know, I don't know if for a fact if everybody's finished it yet, but I think we did a good job. But I think it was a little bit more than we all anticipated too, so we went with something a little bit smaller for February. So definitely join in with us if you want to. If you do have your own channel and you do join in, like I said, let us know so we can add you, and then just make sure to tag all of us in it too. Yeah, so I'm excited for this. My question though is, if anybody is like really good with computers or printers in general, my printer, all the settings are correct on it, but I don't know if you can tell, it's cutting off right here, and I've double, triple, quadruple checked every setting I can think of, and it's set to like fit on the page and things like that. So I can't figure out why it's cutting off stuff over here, and it did it with my Heart Throb blanket too. I mean, this one's not too bad because I can actually read everything on it. I didn't look at the last page though. Yeah, like I'm gonna have to go either reprint it and figure it out, or go look at the pattern online because I can't read all of that. And with my Heart Throb blanket, with the graph that we printed out, I was missing row 61, which I knew row 61 was part of it, so it wasn't a big deal, but I can't figure out why it's doing that. So if anybody might know, let me know in the comments down below. So that's everything I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.